Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In the past, I made content talking about the fact that when somebody in the family is suffering from a behavioral health issue, substance use, mental illness, that it not only affects them, but it affects the whole family. That's why they call it a family disease. And today I came across a great article. I'll put a link to it in the description for the video. And it talks about drug abuse affects the addicts, the families, and generations to come. And actually, in an upcoming edition of the podcast, The Journey, which we just rebooted recently, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Kacia, Kacia, just a fabulous woman, and she talks about how, the generational aspect to substance use, how, it went from her father to her sister and other members of the family. Just gut-wrenching. So I'll just share some of this with you. I'll let you read it for yourself. Drug dealers are not good people, folks, and this is not a column about someone's downfall. It's about the public's reaction to it. I say this in my SUD, substance use disorder, counselor voice, a counselor who has had immense success with clients in their recovery, their families, and their careers. Compassion and accountability are not fighting siblings, they coexist. You cannot have one without the other. I literally had a sign in my office that said exactly that. This is not judgment. I lived it. This is about accountability and responsibility, and that's biblical. I spent my career advocating for women in treatment and for children of the opioid epidemic. I have spent more time reuniting women with their children than I have spent with my own. She says, my dad went to prison for trafficking a pound of fentanyl, and we all know what fentanyl can do and how dangerous it is. A brutal relapse after having nearly 17 years clean and sober. He was a menace to society and a liability to his own self. No one argued he was innocent. Was he a good man? Sure, when he wasn't using drugs, selling drugs, crashing cars, or causing complete and utter chaos. He was a grown man making decisions, not mistakes. My dad knows right from wrong and admitted his recovery was in the dumpster. Those were his words. And yeah, look, people can recover and do recover when, the right treatment is available and they follow the program and the continuum of care and all of that stuff that I've talked about in other videos. But they can also relapse. And it's so important when somebody relapses that they have the support around them. Now, unfortunately for Dad, it wasn't just that he relapsed, he was selling. And look, I've told you before, the state can step in and take somebody through the criminal system and the mental health system. Well, guess what? The dad got caught selling. That's going to get you sent to prison, right? That is the state stepping in through the criminal justice system. They don't care about his relapse. You're selling fentanyl, you are going to prison. And that's what happened to him. And here's the hard truth. Those comments, that were made about her dad, as cruel as they were the consequence of my dad's decisions. Unfortunately, children pay for it. And no, it's not fair. And that reality is the blessing of being parents. It makes us responsible for our actions and who we hurt. It's even harder for grandparents. Dad missed the births of 2 grandsons while incarcerated. Today, though, guess who is thriving, clean and sober, and a productive member of society? My dad. Currently, we are 3 and 4 generations deep into the opioid epidemic. Many of us were raised in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. We are raising children of our own now. We do not want this for our kids or our neighborhoods. I have to tell you, you would be shocked if I told you we get inundated with calls from grandparents. Why? Because they are raising their own grandchildren, right? And you've got grandparents who raise their children. The children went out into the world. For whatever reason, they were, because of a behavioral health issue, were not able to raise their children. And the grandparents had to step back in and raise their grandchildren. So they became parents all over again. I mean, you've got grandparents that are 70s and 80s. They worked their entire life, worked really hard, put food on the table for their families, paid their taxes. They were good members of society. They raised their children. And now all of a sudden they're going back, they're having to, are stepping out of retirement to become parents again. And we see this a lot, and it's very sad. So I'll put a link to this article. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse here, but you get the idea, right? This is a generational thing. It's a family disease. And as I said before, if you don't address this, well, the state can do it for you. I promise you won't like those results, as you see in this article, right? The state stepped in. But they can also step in through the mental health system and send someone to a state hospital. And if you've ever had a call from somebody who's in a state hospital, it's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. You can hear the yelling and screaming in the background, and it's shocking. Okay, my point is, we don't want the state stepping in. They don't take care of people. They do a lousy job of helping people who have behavioral health issues. And I would implore you, as a family, if you want to find out what options are available to you, legal and non-legal, then pick up the phone. Let's see what options we can give to you. And if we don't think we can help you, we'll tell you we can't help you. So anyway, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this article. Perhaps you're a family out there that's dealt with something similar to this. I'd be interested to hear from you. If there's an issue that you're dealing with in your family, let me know. Post it in the comments. I'll make you a video. Because if it's affecting your family, that's probably affecting somebody else's too. So let's get that information out there to people that need it. If you like the content, please give me a thumbs up. If you want more of this content, which I put out every day for you, so you can get the information you need, subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.